Hi and welcome to this video. I am FF04ORD and this is something a little bit different for the channel if you are currently subscribed. Today I am going to be reviewing a new dashcam. As you can see, I am in the wife's car, hence it's full of rubbish, papers, litter, having a 4-year-old. Try to ignore all that. So what we're doing today is, as I say, we're looking for a new dashcam, and she had one previously in this car but it became faulty and I've been looking for another. Now, as per the title, I have found another, which is the Halo Pro, you can see it there, Road Angel. And this was a bargain that I've just picked up. It was £115, and normally these are roughly, I think if I remember, £160 to £200. So if you are looking for one of these and you're trying to find a cheap one like this, be very careful, because on the back, as per it should say on the listing, this is a 2K front camera. I don't know if you can see the details while I'm talking, and the rear is a 1080. Now, when I looked at some of these, the rears are only 720 on some of them, so be very careful of that. Hence, if you're looking at other cameras and they say they are 720, I know you'll say that the front is more important, which it is, but it is nice to have a rear clear, image of what's going off behind you if you need it. Now, the camera that I've got in my car is slightly on the older side. That has a 720 rear camera. I'll put a short clip in now of my camera and you can see how not very good it is. It'll give you an idea of what happened in an event, which is the main thing, but clear is always better. So that's why if you're looking for another dashcam or you're looking for one of these, make sure it says 1080 rear. When I get this all set up, I will put an image on, or later in the video, you can see how much better the 1080 is in comparison to mine. Now, with this one, it does have a lot of features. I'm not going to go through them all. One reason why I picked this one, apart from the price, is that a lot of cameras do have an image on them, which can be quite distracting. This one doesn't. It's just literally a box with a camera on it, and it does speak to you, so it's not as distracting. The only downside I know of this camera so far is that if something happens, it doesn't automatically save the image. It doesn't protect it in a file somewhere. This comes with a 32 gig SD card, which is great, gives you plenty of saved storage on there. But like I say, if you're driving 4 hours home and someone clips your wing and the car's still drivable, you have to be aware that the incident that's saved may be overwritten. So on some dash cams you can say, for example, Garmin save file, and it will save that file and not overwrite it. With this one, you will have to physically, pull the file off and, save it to your computer. So already I know the app's not great on this. In an event, you can pull the clips from the app, but it does take a time for them to download. To be fair, I just find it a lot easier to pull the file out and put it in my computer. But apart from that, I already know this is a really good camera for the price. I know one in comparison to this one is Nextbase. I think that's £160, £180. For a 1080 rear, 2K front. If you're looking for the cheaper ones, it's always good to look at the reviews, because some say that they are 2K or 4K, but they're not actually. So always remember to Google cameras, footage that people put on YouTube, to make sure the footage is clear as the camera that you're looking at. So without further ado, if you are interested in this camera, as I say, this has not been unwrapped yet, we'll unpack this and see what you get with it. Okay, so I've just taken the cellophane off. What I will say about the box that it comes in is it's quite nice for a box, to be fair. It looks well packaged. When you shake it, you don't really hear much rattling around. And it's got a cover that goes over the top. can take that off. Okay. And you have the box behind that. There's the SD card. So when I say it's quite nicely packaged, all inside in there is all foam. You know, it's, if you have these posted out to you, more than likely 99% it's going to get there, you know, without damage, because that's well padded. So the box itself, on top we have the instructions, and then inside we have the camera and rear camera. So that's the SD card that comes with it. That's a 32, so 32 gig's not massive, but it will give you probably 3 or 4 days, depending on how much you use the car, of quality recording. So inside this, like I say, you've got your manual on how to use it, instructions. We'll get to that later on. So we have the rear camera, which is quite nice. It sits flat against the window, and you can twist that, and you have the connection on the back. And the camera itself, it comes with a sticky pad. Just sits on the window like that. The camera goes up and down, so you can adjust that. One thing to note is when you're mounting this, it's a good idea to use the app so you can get it straight. You can look on your phone, because as I say, the camera will move up and down, but if you mount it like that, you can't adjust it sort of sideways, it's only up and down. So just a note when installing the camera. But say, nice design, nothing distracting. You can mute it with a button there, and then you've got a little green light, say it should be green, to say that it's active and working. So under this well padded foam as well, you have a tool to help hide the wires if you're installing this yourself. Always handy to have. Some spare sticky pads, and one length of cable from front to rear for the rear camera, and the main cable for this camera that goes from the cigarette lighter to the camera. Now, I've looked at 1 or 2 reviews of this camera, and they all say the same. This wire is quite thick, so when you come to hide it in the headliner, it is quite, or can be a pain to hide, so just be aware. Yeah, it might be worth checking beforehand if you buy this, that the headliner up here, you can, you know, pull your finger down a bit and, you know, make sure you've got enough room to hide a bit of a chunky cable behind there. Now, the front and rear camera does split from that as well, so that piece in general is quite a thick piece to hide behind the headlining. And under there you've got a nice plastic padding for the cables and more padding at the bottom of that box. So another thing to note, I have done an install video on a previous car I had, the Fiesta ST150. That will give you more of an idea to hardwire the car if you want it to turn on my ignition. But as I did mention in that video, there's two types of car. There is what a constant live, which means that if you plug this into your cigarette lighter, even with the ignition turned off, the camera will still roll. So that will constantly film all the time, it won't turn off. If you have basically a live ignition, I don't know if that's the right word, but that's what I'm going to call it, it means that you can leave this plugged in, you don't have to unplug it, and when you turn the ignition on, your camera will then turn on, hence turn off, the camera will turn off. So if you have a constant live, the best thing that you could get is a hardwire kit. Now, because of this cable, it being a chunky cable and, you know, not two separates, you will need what you call it's like a cigarette lighter adapter, which is like a female equivalent for that to go in. Where on other cameras you can get the kit that goes from a fuse into a like a typical, I think it's USB-C or something, I forget the right one, into the camera itself. So as I say, for this camera you'll need this cigarette lighter female side, which does the same thing, it just means you have that stored under your glove box somewhere, which you won't see when it's hardwired in. So if you want the parking mode to work, one thing to note, you will need the camera hardwired in because it needs the power to work when it obviously picks up a bump. So obviously if the key's turned off, the ignition's turned off, it's not going to have power for that to you know, to allow it to work. If you only one cigarette lighter on the front and you don't have any USB slots, say if you want to charge your phone, some have a cigarette lighter power cable and a USB slot on top, so you can obviously use the camera and then charge your phone from the top. This does not, it's just one solid piece, so again something else just to take note. Okay, so now I'm just going to do a quick basic check of it, just to make sure it works. I've plugged the cigarette lighter on. This car's ignition live, so when I turn the key it will turn on. So now I'm just going to put the SD card in and basically show you what it does when it starts up. Okay, so once you get the card out, be careful not to touch the metal plates, the contacts, and then the card goes in that side. I don't have any nails to undo that. Nails do help. I have to find something to open it with. This tool will help. There we go, so it just opens like that and the card goes inside. So if you take the instruction book as well, if you are following this to set up your camera, you do have the QR code which is in the book there, which you can scan and you can download the correct app for the phone. And then this will allow you to get a live feed, update it and configure. Okay, so as I say, before I install it, just going to take the lens cover off. Don't forget to take that off or you won't see very much. So as I say, cigarette lighter's in. I'm just going to quickly just plug this in just so you can see what it's like when it's powered on. So you have a bit of a screw there which holds the cable in place, so it shouldn't fall out. Even if the car has quite a whack, it shouldn't lose its power, which is quite a good feature. Because I've seen on a few TV, YouTube programs, I'm sure you've seen them, that when a car's had a serious accident, this dash cam's gone flying and obviously it's become unplugged. So that just goes, can't see that way around, so that goes in there so the screw matches the hole. Okay, so I just missed that because I forgot to press record. When it's plugged in, you get a little green light. It will say Halo active, and then on your rear camera, which I've just plugged in to the wire, you'll have the green light on the back to show that it's got power. So that is now recording. As I say, there's no preview for it.
GPS connected.
Also says that as well, because this camera picks up the GPS, and on the app you can obviously track where you've driven and you can see the coordinates and things like that. But I will leave you to download the app and have a look at that if you decide to buy this camera. And that's the camera in place. So it's very tidy, sat behind the mirror. I know in certain cars like mine, you have to sit them to one side because I have a sensor pad behind there. For like city stop and things like that. But I say in this car, it's not distracting at all. You can hardly see it. So it's nice and tidy out of the way. The reason we have a cameras is obviously if something happens, we need to know, what happened, and if somebody hits you and drives off, we need to be able to see a number plate. So I judge a camera on, basically, before I bought this, I was looking at different ones, on how clear the number plates are, when reviewing the footage, which I found this one to be decent, okay for the price. For the ones that are, your budget ones, 60 to 80 to 100, they'll show what happened if something does happen, which is the main thing, of course, the police will want to know. But if someone hits you, drives off, or something happens at night, if it's not very good at night, you can't really do anything with that number plate. So that's where that's why I chose this one, basically, because you know, the quality is half there. You know, and as you saw from driving around, you know, you could read signs, you could read number plates, and hopefully at the end of the day you don't ever want to actually, well, you shouldn't need to touch this once it's installed, unless, you know, certain YouTubers like myself, sometimes they forget enough. You want to take the footage out and, you know, upload it, that type of thing. But for most people, once it's installed, you don't want to touch it. You just know that you have a bit of, not confidence, but protection, knowing that if something happens, it's there on video. Video doesn't lie, of course, unless it's edited, but we'll not go there. But video doesn't lie, and it helps you no end if, you know, something happens. So I hope you found the video useful. If you are in the market for, you know, dash cam and you've been looking at various different ones, I hope this video has, you know, either changed your mind into looking at this one, or you want to look elsewhere. That's fine. But in my opinion, yes, it doesn't have all the features on that many others have. The quality is pretty good for the front. The rear's, you know, not bad at all. Again, the only thing I can really, it's not to criticise, but it would be better if you had it, is the saving function. You know, if something happens where you could say, yeah, okay, Halo, save footage or something like that. So yeah, leave any comments down below. If you have any questions, again, yeah, feel free to leave them. Always enjoy reading them, and I'll see you in the next one.